Okay, in this video, I'm going to show you how to use Microsoft Access to create a new database. You can open up the database, name it whatever you want to, and hit create. Now, I should say that to find Microsoft Access, if you go to your home button, you can probably find it in your folders here. You can also go to the search option and just type in Access and it should pop up. If you don't have it, it should come with your Microsoft installation that you add where you have Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word, and Microsoft Outlook. So you should have it with that. If not, you may not have the full Microsoft package. Okay, so you start with a blank database and you can add new tables to this by going to external data, clicking on a new data source from file. Usually they're Excel files, and you just go in and find it. In this case, I have lots of files here, so we can just add the clearinghouse table. Now you want to import this new table in the database, so hit OK. The other options are to append it, which will append it to the bottom of an existing table. With that, you'd have to make sure that your column names are the same. The other is to link the data source by creating a linked table. I'm not going to show you how to do that today. Okay, so when your spreadsheet pops up in Access, it asks if you want the first row to be your column headings. In this case, we do. So you do want to make sure that your spreadsheet is clean and you don't have extra lines and it's in really good condition. Hit next. You can just hit next here. Tell it that you don't want a primary key. In this case, I already have an ID, so I don't need another ID created. So I'll say no primary key and hit next. And then you get to name it. So in this case, we are naming it Clearinghouse. And you don't need to have a wizard, and you also don't need to save your import specs. It'll ask you that here in a minute, but hit finish and it will bring it in for you. Okay, so this is the save import steps. You don't need to do that. All right, now you can see that your clearinghouse table is in here and it should look exactly like your spreadsheet. Now you can continue doing this, and I already have this done for us in another database. So I will go to File and Open and bring in my other database here. So I have all of my tables, which include the 8 surveys. That's all demographic information. You can click on it and see we have demographic information. We have the clearinghouse data that we just loaded, and we have the survey totals, which are the actual totals of the surveys that we just did. You'll notice that some of them have percentages, some of them are numeric. It really doesn't matter. You can change this if you want, but it's not a deal breaker if you just leave them formatted this way. It's fine. So now the fun part comes with looking at queries. So to start a query, again, all these up here are your tables. Now your queries down here, let's go back over to our other database. Let's open our example database, because you'll notice I don't have any queries here. So you'd have to start a query. You go to Create, Query Design, and you can bring in your table. You can bring in multiple tables, and I'll show you how to do this here in a minute, but basically this gives you the chance to pull in the information that you want. Maybe we just want to know how many colleges are in this data set. So if I do that and I hit run, it's going to list every single line item. So that doesn't help us very much. If you go back to View, Design View, and you hit this Totals button, it will remove all those duplicates and only list what we actually want to see. So then you can see, okay, there's these colleges, and there must be spaces or something is why it's listing them. So let's go back to Design View. I do want to tell it that I don't want anything that's blank. So I'm going to say not null and run it. Well, it's still bringing in blank, so there must be something in that field, or otherwise it would not show it. But now that we have this, what we could do is, let me actually go back to design view, because I'm going to take out the ID. We don't need that for this example. And I want to sort it alphabetically, so I'm going to sort it ascending and hit run. And now you can see all of the colleges listed in alphabetical order. All right. Now, there are lots of other options you can do with Microsoft Access. It's quite powerful. So you could look at, just with this one data set, you could bring in the different years. You could bring in what state it's in, which you would probably know just by the name of the college. But you could maybe look at graduation. Did these students actually graduate? And then maybe we want a total for that. So let's look at count. And we're going to get a count of how many people graduated from each college. Now let's run it. And there we have it. It shows you how many people from each college graduated. This is a blank space, so that's no college listed. And then you could also sort this, sort largest to smallest, so we can see that this college reported the most number of graduates by number, not by percentage. If we wanted percentage, we'd have to compute that. All right, so hopefully you're seeing how powerful this can be. You can really get in here and play with your data. Now I want to go back over to the other one that I have designed. And with this one, you'll see I already have a lot of queries saved. So in this case, if I go into the query, if I just double click, it's going to give me the results. But you need to know how I set this up. So you can right click on the name and go to design view. Now you see how if I want to bring in two tables, you have to connect them with that unique ID. And the unique identifier is what lets you know, okay, from this table, this is student number 1, and from this table, this is student number 1. Now in this case, it's matching every single student to both documents. You'll see down here I have the ID, I have ethnicity from the first time they took the survey, and ethnicity from the second time they took the survey. And what I'm asking for here is that if the ethnicity is different. So in this case, I'm saying that the result is not the same as it was the first time. And that's the formula right there. You can also type that in as not, put your brackets, and start typing, and it will bring up, it should bring up ethnicity. It should bring up the actual table name for you. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And then we hit run. Now you see all of these different students documented their ethnicity as different between the first time they took the survey and the second time they took the survey. So it's quite a few. Now again, this powerful button here, the totals button, if I don't have that clicked, you're going to get lots of information. If I do go back and click it, then you'll just get the line item one time. There won't be all the duplicates. So I love to hit this unless you just want to see the duplicates. All right, so that lets you know, okay, so we have this issue where students are changing their ethnicity from one survey to the next survey. Well, to see that with each survey, I've designed different queries. So you can see, okay, did they change their ethnicity from the first time they took it to the third time they took it? Because this is the first time to the second time. So let's take a look. And they did. We had 83 students that time. How about the first time to the fourth time? Yep, they did. The first time to the fifth time? Yes. So we see a pattern here. And if you wanted to go in and take a look at the actual students that did that to see if it's the same student every time, or if they changed it from, you know, one every single time they took it, we could take a look at that too. And I'll show you how to do that in a minute. All right, so let's close these out because I want to take a look now at gender. Did they change gender from one survey to the next? Let's say no there. Okay, so we set that up the same way. Notice you can go here instead of double clicking, just tell it to go to design view. And I'm looking at who is the student, what did they report on the first survey, what did they report on the second survey, and only show me if it's different than the first time. And we run it, and there's nothing. So I did this for each one, and I only found that this happened one time in all 8 surveys. So it was student number 866. Now, I want to figure out, okay, what did student number 866 do with all the surveys? So I put together a survey compare, and here we have all 8 surveys. This is just for this one survey. It's not, there's several different surveys in here, but I wanted to see what does this look like for this person. And oh, sorry. So his ID number is 866. I can put that in there. And again, I have this, which I'll take that out. I'll show you what that is here in a minute. So this is quite simple. We're pulling in all the different surveys, and I want to see what student number 866 did across these 8 different years. Well, they only answered it twice. And the answers were slightly different. But let's go back now and let's take a look at the way this was set up in the first place, which was if we just run this to see what are the differences, or actually not differences, we don't have anything in our criteria section, but what are the numbers for these surveys for all 8 years for all students? Well, we're going to get a huge list, and this is difficult. There's 1,400 lines, so this is difficult to weed through. If you go back to design view, maybe I just want to look at where are the numbers the same. So because I didn't say not here, if I said not, that's going to bring in where are they different. But if I just put the same table name, or in this case field name, here with brackets, it will give me where are they the same. This reduces it down to 96 students, where we can see, okay, in year 1 and year 2, it's the same numbers for all of these 96 students. Now they may change in the other years because that's not part of our criteria. If I wanted to see, go back to design view, where they're the exact same in all years, we could do that, and there's not any, which makes sense because most people would change their answers year by year based on how they feel. Okay, so I'm going to close that one out. And then the analyze all gives you a chance to bring in all of the actual tables. So you can see I'm connecting every single table with that ID because that's the only unique identifier in all these tables. It gives me all of the 8 surveys plus the clearinghouse. And these are just demographics. These aren't the other surveys. The survey totals, that's where we have these types of surveys. So that's not what we're looking at here. Here I'm just looking at their demographics. And I'm going back to student number 866 because I want to know what did they report as far as gender every single year, what college did they go to, and what year did they graduate if they graduated. And here's the graduation. So let's go back to design and click run. And we can see, well, they didn't give us much information. The same thing we saw on the other, they did change gender, but they did not graduate. So that's all we know about this person. If we wanted to look at other information not specific to this student, we could pull that out and maybe start bringing in, you know, age or ethnicity. There's all sorts of information. So we could set up any type of query. Really, the sky's the limit when you do this. You can bring down any information that you want. Okay, so I want to show you how to actually create a query like that. Let's go to create query design. Now in our last one, we just did one table. This time, let's bring in, maybe we'll bring in the clearinghouse totals and the survey totals. And you connect it by the ID. You can move these things around all you want. And maybe I want to see, okay, who is the student and did they graduate? And then I want to start looking at what were their scores here. So we'll go back to these and look at just this one survey. If I want to see if they graduated, again, hit this totals button. So we see no's and yeses here. Well, this is really all the data. It's a data dump. So let's go back to design view and maybe we'll say, let's look at, did they graduate? Yes. And okay, so if they graduated, we're seeing these scores here. Well, we have to know more about the scores to know if this is any different or not. But I'm seeing 3s and 4s. I do see some 2s. Let's see, I see a 1 down here. So we can sort these too. Let's do a design view and look at maybe if it's less than 2 and see what we come up with. Okay, so now this is where, because we have the percentages in here, it's going to not come out right. We'll have to go back in and change those to actual numbers, or we could just go in and change our query to like less than 200. And we could run it. So this is telling us that any student that graduated did not report less than 200 in year 1, the first year they took this survey. Let's see if that's the same here. No, nobody graduated if they reported that score less than 200. And how about here? No. Okay. And then we'll just keep doing this and see what happens. Somewhere here the formatting changes, but we'll figure that out. All right. Nope. And we'll do 3 more. Nope. And 1 more. No. Okay. So, like I said, you can play with this information all you want, try to figure out what makes sense to you. But otherwise, that's pretty much the gist of it. And if you come up with an idea of how you might want to put in criteria or formula, there is, if you right click, there is a builder that can help you build out queries. And it's not super easy, but it's here. If you want to do that, you could look at some other videos for that. There's also plenty of information online as far as these keywords that you can use. And obviously, this is a filter that you could use. So you just need to know what's inside the database, and then you can filter based on that. All right. Well, I hope this helps. And if you have questions, let me know.